3103 Louisville in Monroe. Hi again, everybody. Our special guest today is a gentleman by the name of David Rosler. He's been in the TV, motion picture, and advertising industries for over 35 years in New York City in several capacities, including producing, directing, animation, design, and writing. He's got a movie that's coming out and having a little trouble getting some promotion for it, and actually on a vehicle that many people use, and there may be some discrimination involved in all of this. But first of all, let me welcome David to our show. David, Lanny James, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on your show. How are you doing?
Doing great. Good to have you on. Listen, I'm a big movie buff. Before you came on, I was talking about going to see that Darkest Hour about Winston Churchill as being, sneak previewed across the country in limited engagement. I was reading about a movie you've got coming out called Orbiter. It's a live-action 3D stereoscopic Christian-themed science fiction movie. Tell me about the deal with Facebook. What's going on there? Are you having trouble getting this thing released, or what's happening?
Well, let me tell you, the film is actually not completed yet.
Right.
It's been self-funded up to this point, and we're trying to raise completion funding, and that's really where the problem is. The distribution will not be a problem. I've already worked it out with a couple of the larger theater chains. We're self-distributing, getting rid of the confiscatory middleman distributor, and but to raise completion funding, you need crowdfunding. And that's not the dirty word it used to be. Some of the biggest Hollywood stars now, who could easily fund their own projects, use crowdfunding. Sylvester Stallone, and the list goes on and on. But to use crowdfunding, you have to have social media. You have to have Facebook. You have to have Twitter. The whole world has essentially been gathered up online into a couple of these places. And if you can't be heard there, they can ruin your business. They can shut you down. You have no voice on the internet, and that's basically what's been happening to us.
Let me ask you this, David.
And let me just say, Lanny, that's not conspiracy theory. That's definite. Everyone associated with the project, it's so blatant, it's outrageous. It's terrible.
Well, I guess the supposition here is that it's because it's a religious-based movie, Christian-based movie. What right do they have with freedom of speech in this country and the First Amendment? What right do they have to keep you off of Facebook? What's their logic behind all of this?
We can only speculate because they do all of this stuff in very nefarious ways. They never come out and say, we're going to censor you because we hate you. They pretend like they're not doing it. But you've seen the Orbiter website. You've seen probably the trailer and everything. And it's so uncommon, if I may say so. It's so uncommon that if you see something like that on Facebook, you have to assume that there are going to be people who are going to comment. Everyone's a critic. I love the idea. I hate the idea. This actress is great. That actor is terrible. These special effects are terrible. The special effects are great. When does it come out? What software? That kind of stuff is endless. We go on and we see nothing. You go on a Christian room with 500,000 users where they say something like, someone will post, we just have a new kitten, and they get 150 likes and comments and something. We flatline. We're not being seen. We're not being seen. Now, the logic behind it, it's disturbing. I equate it to be a Christian in the United States. I equate to being a Jew in Berlin in 1937. It's
Well, it's pretty strong, David. But let me say this. I've talked about this on my show. Of course, I believe in God. I'm a Christian, certainly not as good as I should be, but
no one is.
David, it seems to me like there's a movement in this country to take God, or especially Christianity, out of virtually everything. You know, from what I have read down through the years, this country was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And the Ten Commandments, I think, has had a lot to do with what has made this country so great. I see it as a concerted effort to stifle all that, maybe remove it from our society. And I'm not sure that the American people like us are going to let this happen. Where's this coming from? And am I pretty close to being right?
Oh, yeah, there's no question you're entirely right, and we don't have to speculate on that. The National Religious Broadcasters Association, which you know is an enormous nationwide organization, they've just begun when did they start it? December 7th. They have a new initiative called the Internet Freedom Watch,
right,
and that is to combat censorship of Christian voices on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media. Tennessee Representative Marsha Blackburn just came out with a bill, the Open Internet Preservation Act, H.R. 4682, which makes it illegal to censor and throttle back legal content on the Internet. So there's no speculation. Everybody sees it. You get House representatives see it, national religious broadcasters see it, everyone sees it. Now, where this is coming from, we have to speculate. But as we go into this conversation, I could tell you some things about the people who are behind Twitter that will make you and your audience's hair stand on end. But yeah, I think one of the reasons they're going after Orbiter is because we made a lot of noise about our intentions. And I think that is wrangling some people who don't like Christians or conservatives. To begin with, Orbiter is a cross-genre science fiction Christian film, which is designed in stereoscopic 3D, and all of that is in part designed to bring the younger audiences back in, so that when we walk out of the theater, they can say, you know what? It's cool to say I'm a Christian. It's hip to say I'm a Christian. It's okay. I don't have to worry about the haters. I can do that. The other thing that we've been broadcasting loudly about this project is that usually Christian filmmakers, the ones that score big, wind up sitting on their fortunes. We're not going to do that.
Right.
If we bring in, and we expect to, what Fireproof, War Room, very, very, very modest shoestring budgets, bringing in tens of millions of dollars, 40, 50, 60 million. We're going to create a studio in Tennessee. And when we're not shooting on the stages or editing in the editing suites, we're going to turn the facilities over to carefully picked Christian projects and let them use the studios and the staff and the facilities for free. We're just going to open it up because that's what Christians do. And you know what? Let's get a flood of Christian films which speak to today's audiences, which kind of get out of the formula of the current Christian film, which is there's a marriage in trouble while someone in the family is dying in the hospital, which is basically the formula. Every one of these films you see, there's a marriage in trouble and somebody's dying in the hospital. You know what? We're more creative than that. We're more intellectual than that. We can do better than that. And when the proceeds come in, we're going to start that studio. And I think maybe those two things, reaching the audience and starting the studio, is what's leveled this degree of censorship on us on social media. Because it's absolutely, it's outrageous we don't get seen at all. We don't get seen at all. Nobody likes us, and that's not because they don't like the project. It's because nobody can see us.
David,
well,
have you got legal grounds here for a lawsuit or something? And what are you doing to try to get them to let you on and get the coverage and widespread distribution of what you're trying to do? How do you handle that? How do you battle that problem?
By doing things such as what we're doing right now, which is getting over the radio, which they can't stop, which is driving people to the website, which is orbitermovie.com, where they can see for themselves. And by the way, we have a brand new, just moments ago posted, fundraising site, because we're not too certain that they haven't been hacking into the fundraising site as well. People have said that they've been donating and we're not seeing them. They really don't want, somebody out there really doesn't want this to happen. And I'm no conspiracy theorist. I stick to the facts. But it's pretty apparent. Somebody doesn't want Orbiter to happen. They do not want the studio. They don't want it reaching the young audiences. Somebody really doesn't want it. So if your audience can just go to orbitermovie.com and click on it, and if they see a thank you gift that they would like to have for a donation, help us out. Because this has been self-funded up to this point, and it's a tough road to ride when everyone else in the world, when the entire world is geared up to using social media to advance their businesses, and we can't even be seen. And that's a fact.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
Rosler,
but
excuse me, David. We can take a break. I got some pretty good questions for you when we come back. So hang in. We'll be right back.
You know what you need, you think it'll fit, and it has to match. But how can you know for sure it's the one for you? Well, it's easier than you think. Just make a quick trip to Daniel Appliance and Furniture. They have the knowledge and expertise to make sure you get exactly what works for your home. From basic models to the very top of the line custom appliances, Daniel's carries the brands you trust at prices you'll like.
Come see us at Daniel Appliance and Furniture, 913 Louisville Avenue, Monroe.
If you love the outdoors, enjoy hunting, or just want to have fun, go by and see my friends at Bayou Power Sports and check out their great stock of ATVs. You'll find Polaris Rangers and Sportsmen, Honda ATVs and motorcycles, Yamaha ATVs and motorcycles. They have the 3 top-selling brands of ATVs and side-by-sides and generators too. Bayou Power Sports. Go by and see them today. Citizens Progressive Bank has been serving this area since 1918. They're proud of the fact that they've established long-lasting, close relationships with their valued customers. Their logo is red, white, and blue because they're proud of this great country and everything it stands for. Citizens Progressive Bank, where God and veterans are still welcome, with locations in Columbia, Grayson, Rayville, and Winsboro. Need a portable building? Let me tell you where to go. Bayou Portable Buildings is the place. They offer several sizes and styles. They've got great financing, or you can rent to own. Bayou Portable Buildings can also repair or relocate or build to customer specification. And by the way, they also sell greenhouses. See them on Facebook at BayouPortableBuildings.us. They're located at 8798 Millhaven Road in Monroe, or call them at 343-8045. Bobby Williamson Flooring and Home Improvement has been serving the people of Northeast Louisiana for over 22 years. They do hardwood floors, porcelain and ceramic tile, vinyl, carpeting, and granite countertops. They take pride in their service department and strive to be the best in the industry. 12 months, same as cash, no interest financing. Bobby Williamson Flooring and Home Improvement in West Monroe, 2914 North 7th, right next to the Honey Hole.
Merry Christmas. This is Derek Kennedy with American National. With my agency at American National, you get years of experience in the industry and an outstanding array of products and services for home, auto, and life. You can feel good that you're doing the right thing for your family. Let the Kennedy Agency be your insurance ally. Contact us at 323-7755 or stop by 407 Hudson Lane in Monroe.
Welcome back, everybody. Our special guest today is a gentleman we've been talking to. Got a movie coming out called Orbiter. I was reading about it here, David. Before we get into some other stuff, tell us a little bit about the movie. It sounds pretty interesting.
Okay, happy to. But before I do, since we're on a longer format here, I want to give a shout-out to some of our terrific actors. They're probably listening, and you know what? They're mostly newcomers, but very carefully chosen and very skilled. So let me give a shout-out to Estar Wilson, Whitney Atkins, Jocelyn Howard, and Xavier Russian. They're all from Tennessee. So how are you guys? Yeah, I told you your name would be in lights, right? Okay. Yeah.
Tell us about the movie.
Orbiter is a science fiction film, but it's not like Star Wars or Star Trek. It's a realistic science fiction film. It's a mature science fiction film, more like, and you would know these films, Fail-Safe and The Manchurian Candidate. Those are technically science fiction, but they're grown-up, mature thrillers. And Orbiter takes place on the International Space Station, which is sabotaged to further diminish U.S. Satellite capabilities, just as World War III is starting to break out on the surface of the Earth. So it's a fairly complex, fairly intense film, and unfortunately, it's timely. We could see something along those lines before too long. Once again, if people want to check it out, they can go to orbitermovie.com and see the trailer and the rest. We are in production, but we do need completion funding. And I have to, I hate to sound like a pitch man, Lanny, but we can't be seen on social media. So when I get on the radio, I have to say it.
All right, if somebody wants to help you out, I know you'd like to have some funds raised. How if they wanted to make a donation to help you guys out, how would they do it?
Go to orbitermovie.com, and there's a big orange button just to the right of the poster at the top of the website, and that will take you to the donation page. And every donation has at least one thank you gift, and help out a little bit if you can, because you know what? You know how else you could look at it? If you also, anyone listening, if you're sick of people censoring people like yourselves on the internet, go and donate, because each time you do, it's a spit in their eye. You know?
I think people are sick of that.
Well, I mean, the national religious broadcasters have a new thing going on with that, and Marsha Blackburn has a bill specifically. Its intention is to stop it. We've spoken to their office a few times about it, Blackburn's office, and its purpose is to end the prejudicial censorship of certain groups, like Christians, on the internet. That's what it's for. I mean, that's how bad it is. And you know what? As bad as Facebook is, Twitter's even worse.
David, let me ask you this: Are you out in California? Are you a Hollywood guy or Tennessee? No,
I never liked it. I was offered several positions out there, and I always turned them down to stay on the East Coast. I can't say I love New York, but I love the Eastern weather, the change of the seasons. That's purely a personal thing, and so no, I'm not out there in Tinseltown. If I was, I'd be out of business entirely by the end of this interview.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Trump's catching a lot of flack. It seemed like most of the movie stars can't stand him. and the ones that probably do like him are afraid to say so. Is this also true of the Christian community? How strong is the Christian faith among movie people out there? I just kind of curious. I wouldn't think there'd be much. What do you say?
There are a lot of silent voices. I mean, you had someone like Rosie O'Donnell goes on her TV, goes on The View, and says that Christians are more dangerous than ISIS terrorists.
That's ridiculous.
And she not only keeps her job, but she gets congratulated for it by her peers. I mean, that's the business we're in. And I'll tell you something. Once Orbiter is done and starts bringing in the revenue, I'm going to be happy as can be to move down to Tennessee, where people can say the word God without feeling a need to apologize. It's not so good in New York and Hollywood. Let me put it that way. Is there prejudice? Yes. Can it hurt your career if you extol the virtues of the faith, let alone cite any conservative political views? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, they talk about the terrible days of the Joe McCarthy blacklisting. But what is happening, in my opinion, now is 10 times worse.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not good. I mean, I'm not the only one to say it. Everyone says it. Anyone who comes out and decides to speak about it, you're gonna get a lot of flack, and you're gonna get a lot of cold shoulders, and you're gonna get a lot of trouble. Basically, look what's happening on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, David, you wrote, you brought up Rosie O'Donnell's name, and it's ironic because I was going to talk about her.
Oh.
I don't know if you heard the latest, but she has offered $2 million. Susan Collins is one of them, to a couple of people in Congress to not vote for the tax cut bill. I guess to rescind their vote or whatever. That is asinine. And there ought to be some little, illegality there, I would think. But why are there so many wackos out there? Tom Hanks said that he wouldn't, preview his movie at the White House. It just seems to be rampant out there. I don't know if it's socialism or what has crept into that community out there in Hollywood and over on the West Coast, but it's a lot of people are sick of it. I mean, and Trump's never gotten a fair shake from any of those people out there, whether you're a Trump fan or not. It looks to me like he's making a lot of noise and making some things happen. And look, I've been a member of the media since 1958. Obviously, I've been around a long time, David, and I'm embarrassed by. He's right about the fake media. They lie. They say all kinds of things. Even Congress does. They're talking about the tax cut thing strictly for the rich. Trump's not going to turn his back on the middle America, the people that elected him.
Yeah.
I want to see this turn. I think people are sick of the lies and the national media, being so slanted in one direction. What do you say?
Well, that's one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing, and why we're trying to break the mold of the traditional contemporary Christian film by doing a science fiction cross-genre thriller in 3D. The key is the younger people, and that's who we want to reach, not just once, but over. I've got 4 more screenplays polished after Orbiter, polished, budgeted, and already partially designed.
Uh-huh.
So once Orbiter is done and things start coming in, unless an investor, an angel comes along and makes it possible for us to set up the studio now, which would be lovely. But the plan is once the proceeds come in, and the theaters have already said they'll take it, and so it's going to make a lot of money. And just keep churning them out, one after the other. Stereoscopic 3D, designed for the younger audiences, thrillers, adventures, not drama, and break that, shatter that mold. shatter that mold and get out there and show everybody, you know what, it's okay to be Christian. You can enjoy a great movie. It doesn't have to be pedantic. It doesn't have to lecture you to death. You can go out there, you can enjoy it, and you can tell your friends, oh, you should see Orbiter. You'll see the other things. And they'll say, oh, is it good? And they'll say, yeah, it's great. And they'll say, I heard it's Christian. And say, yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's a great movie. That's what we want. And
David, is there a tentative date for the release of Orbiter? How's that looking? It sounds like it's still a little iffy with the funding, right?
Well, we need completion funding to complete the film.
Right.
So until we can get that, we're stymied. And as long as Facebook and Twitter are absolutely cutting the legs out of any ability to communicate with our fellow human beings, like any other normal business, a bakery, anybody else, they can get out there, they can talk to hundreds of thousands of people. Nobody hears us. Nobody. So, yeah, it's iffy, but more and more people are becoming interested in it. They see its value, and we're going to get there. Whether it's sooner or later, we're going to get to the finish line, for sure. I've been in this business too long for it not to get to the finish line. So in terms of iffy, it's only a matter of a date. It's not a matter of will the film be completed. The film will be completed. If your listeners can help out at orbitermovie.com, then it can be completed much faster, and they can also make a statement against censorship. But you were saying there should be laws against this kind of censorship. Unless I'm reading the law very badly, there already is a law.
Constitution.
It's U.S. Code 18, U.S. Code Title 18, Section 241. And that law, statute on the books, makes it a crime to conspire with anyone to deny a third party any constitutional right. And freedom of speech is a constitutional right. If two or more people, even if they're not really working in concert, all you need is one person acting and another person enabling and looking the other way. That's conspiracy. The legal definition for criminal conspiracy is extremely broad. People don't know that. They think you need two people who are working systematically 50% on each part of some sort of nefarious act. No, not at all. Not at all. So what you have each time someone censors something, someone throttles it back, someone shuts it down completely on Facebook, and any of the executives are even remotely aware that this is going on, that's in violation of U.S. Code Title 18, Section 241. It's a crime. Now, thankfully, Marsha Blackburn's got her bill out there, and it's drilling it in a little bit more specifically, saying you can't, really putting the law right on the table. You can't throttle back or censor people unless they're posting something illegally.
David, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you this. Not as a director, producer, or whatever. I don't know if you've got kids, but I do, and I've got grandkids. I like your approach of trying to reach younger people. Where are we falling short, David? When you talk about religion, I think a lot of that has to be instilled in these young kids by their parents. I don't know if they're falling short there, but and there seems to be a concerted effort, especially among higher education, to run down America, run down religion. How far back does this go in affecting our kids? And it looks to me like there may be a lot of people to blame. What say you?
It does go back. The media has essentially been in a state of infiltration for decades now. I can't tell you how many times I sat in boardroom meetings and in studios and anywhere else and had a whole room of somebody just arbitrarily throw out some attack against the Bible Belt or anybody who supported a Republican presidential candidate, and everybody's there nodding and agreeing, and I sit there and bite my tongue.
Yeah.
This has been going on for decades. I don't blame the parents, because once the kids get to a certain age, the influence that they have from high school and particularly college, once they're away from the home, is devastating.
That's right.
It's really the colleges, because if you look at the statistics, 50% of young people are leaving the Christian faith after college, essentially as a result of what they experience in college. And again, that is something we're trying to combat.
David, if we ever lose that, we'll lose our country.
Well, we can't lose it. And we're not going to lose it. Period. It's something that can't be lost.
Absolutely.
Because there's nothing of any value to fill that space when that's gone. So, when you hear some of these haters talk, you ask them, what's your end game? What do you have of value to replace the faith with? And all they can give you are these smarmy, hate-filled one-liners about how much more intelligent they are. So here's a line for your people, for your audience. If you ever hear anybody talk down about Christians, say the majority of the country is Christian. What have you achieved in your life that makes you think you're smarter than everyone else? That shuts them down fast. Now, there is something that your people, that your listeners can do, and that's that they can get on Facebook, get on Twitter, get on the telephone, and contact all of the House reps. Respond to them as replies in their posts on Facebook and Twitter, and tell them to support H.R. 4682. That's Marsha Blackburn's resolution to stop the censorship. Everybody can do that. And if they do it out in the open on Facebook and Twitter, the reps will obey, because they don't want to feel the wrath of the voters come 2018. So they will obey if you do that. We've seen that happen in the past. So there are things that people can do very quickly to turn this kind of thing around. And again, I ask your audience to go to orbitermovie.com, because we need all the friends we can get right now. We're floating around out there in a bubble of silence in Facebook and Twitter. And someday, some other time, I'll tell you about the people who are behind Twitter Trust and Safety if we don't have enough time today. You will.
Yeah, we don't have enough time today, but I sure will want to do that. Listen, good luck, David, with what you're trying to do. My hat's off to you. It's going to take people like you to do this. It's a breath of fresh air to me. David Rosler, our special guest, thanks for being on today. We'll do it again.
Thanks very much.
Take care. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.